Ready for it.
Thrill for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.
And so this day finally arrives. A tryst with destiny, gunning for glory. RCB and the Punjab Kings. One of them will finally end an 18-year agonizing wait to finally lift the IPL crown. It's finals day of IPL 2025. This is Nexa Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. We are with you earlier than usual. We couldn't wait for this final. As is most of the country, it's one of those where we will have heartbreak for one team but ecstasy for the other. But it's a special day today. The reason we're here early, the reason Aakash Chopra is here early with me, is that we already have a winner before RCB and Punjab. That is the winner of our crickcaster. Nakul Sharma is with us. Applause for Nakul.
Thank you so much, sir.
Well done. बहुत ही मुबारकबाद.
Thank you so much, sir.
तो रिकॉर्डिंग होने से पहले मतलब लाइव जाने से पहले शर्मा जी का बेटा जो चोपड़ा साहब है जो फरीदाबाद के सेक्टर कौन से की बात कर रहे थे आई एक्चुअली फेल्ट I was in North India. Kapoor Saab is also here. It feels like a GK2 ka, gathering.
Correct.
Very posh gathering that you've been part of, I'm sure.
I've never been a part of a posh gathering, but still it's okay.
All right, brilliant. Nakul, it's so nice to have you. पहले मैं सवाल एक करूंगा आपसे, उसके बाद आप सवाल शुरू कर लेना.
बिल्कुल सर, जैसे आपकी मर्जी.
आप क्रिकेट फैन हो. आज क्रिकेट फैन का बड़ा एक खास दिन है, because there's RCB and Punjab Kings. In a way, neutrals को ये फाइनल बड़ा पसंद है. Just tell me what you're feeling ahead of the final.
Okay, तो सर सबसे पहले तो मुझे ये लग रहा था कि 18 सालों का इंतजार खत्म हो रहा है और विराट कोहली सर जिसको हम बचपन से देखते आ रहे हैं, जिनको हम देखते हैं कि कैसे कवर ड्राइव मारते थे, कैसे वो घूम के एक बार पुल शॉट लगता था, कैसे ऑस्ट्रेलियंस का तो पंगा लेना उनका. अब लग रहा है कि 18 सालों का इंतजार उनका यहाँ पे खत्म हो सकता है. और ऑन दी अदर हैंड सर श्रेयस अय्यर की हम बात करें, श्रेयस अय्यर इज अनबिलीवेबल. मतलब लास्ट मैच में मुंबई से जो मैच निकाल करके लेके गए हैं जी, जसप्रीत बुमराह की वो यॉर्कर और वो चौका मार देना थर्ड मैन की तरफ से, कमाल. तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. अभी फिलहाल मन के अंदर ये है कि जो भी होगा नया चैंपियन होगा. मेरे लिए खुशकिस्मती ये है कि मैं उस शो पर बैठा हूँ जिसको मैं रोज शाम को लाइव देख रहा होता हूँ और लाइव देखते देखते आज मैं यहाँ हूँ और उस वक्त पे हूँ जब कोई ना कोई नया चैंपियन मिल रहा है आईपीएल के 18 साल के बाद.
इतिहास रचा जाएगा आपके लिए भी, आईपीएल के लिए भी. और आई एम श्योर कि हमारा लाइव शो देखने बाद आप आकाश का भी लाइव शो देखते ही होंगे. इनके तो कई शोज आते हैं रोज डेली. ऑन दोस 2 पॉइंट्स जो सबसे पहले what would you sense is the feeling today that the sport deserves? There's Kohli on one side, there's Punjab Kings on the other. What do you feel?
Well, it has to go beyond Kohli is what I'm thinking. Of course, क्योंकि 18 साल, even though I understand कि 18 साल की जब इंतजार की बात करते हैं खास तौर से सिर्फ एक खिलाड़ी की, तो उसी का पैकेज है, बाकी किसी का नहीं है. Nobody has lived that journey for the last 18 years. So हर किसी की अपनी अपनी स्टोरी होगी. सॉल्ट के दृष्टिकोण से देखोगे तो कहोगे कि यार क्या ही प्रॉब्लम है यहाँ. You just need to turn up for the IPL and you lift the trophy. क्योंकि पिछले साल मैंने कोलकाता के साथ किया, इस साल मैं बेंगलुरु के साथ कर रहा हूँ. It's easy, life is good. पर कोहली of course has grown old with this franchise. तो थोड़ा पर्सनल जरूर है, पर it's also I think it's only fair and just that अब जब यहाँ पहुँचे हैं, it's not on the back of just विराट कोहली. क्योंकि ये I think this is how it has to be कि एक बंदा ट्रॉफी अगर जिता सकता तो 3-4 हो चुकी होती है अब तक. एक से नहीं होता है, बाकी सबको आना पड़ता है. 9 डिफरेंट प्लेयर ऑफ द मैच अवार्ड विनर्स, उनमें से सिर्फ एक कोहली को जिस दिन मिला था उस दिन भी उसने कहा यार मैं नहीं, ये तो देवदत्त पाटिकल का था. सो दिस इज वेयर आरसीबी इज स्टैंडिंग. ऑफ कोर्स ह्यूज फैन बेस, बट पंजाब अगेन अ लवली स्टोरी. बैगेज उनका भी जो है, ये जो प्लेयर है इनका बैगेज नहीं है. श्रेयस अय्यर ने तो हाथ से अपनी टीम भी नहीं बनाई है. ये he was picked at the auctions, but what a heart-warming story. और फैन बेस भी लिमिटेड रहा, बहुत हार्ड ब्रेक्स हुए. Eventually one will be very happy. I think both should be happy in a sense. पर of course जो ट्रॉफी जीतता है उसकी खुशी obviously ज़्यादा.
I'm actually already feeling bad क्योंकि अब 3-3.5 घंटे में I will feel more for the team that has lost.
Yeah, correct.
You know, you just feel like it's that kind of bittersweet day. Anyway, एक कुछ कर लेते हैं यहाँ पे. युजवेंद्र चहल जिस तरह आरसीबी से पंजाब की तरफ चले गए थे, जो स्वैप हुआ था, आरसीबी को अभी लग रहा होगा कि काश मैं इन्हें वापस ले सकता हूँ. लेकिन नकुल, you've won crickcaster, you've been so good throughout. So I will now invite you to take this very comfortable chair of mine, and I'll happily sit over there. आ जाओ.
That's a very coveted place.
कुछ नहीं सर, वो थोड़ा नीचे दब गया है, मेरा वजन ज्यादा था.
नहीं सर, एक्चुअली शहंशाह का जो सिंहासन होता है वो कभी ना कभी मतलब ऐसे ऊपर नीचे होता रहता है, लेकिन शहंशाह जहाँ बैठते हैं वो इसका सिंहासन है. जैसे अब यहाँ बैठे हैं, बिल्कुल सेंटर ऑफ अटेंशन है.
क्या बात है. आई लाइक क्रिकेट में जो शहंशाह है वो हमेशा किंग ही रहे हैं. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच. अब नकुल किस चीज के बारे में बात करें? चोपड़ा साहब और मैं तैयार है. आकाश के साथ आप ज्यादा बात कर लो, मैं ऐसे ही चाय पीता रहूंगा.
सर पाटीदार साहब की एक बात थी, अभी स्क्रीन पर भी आ रही होगी. उन्होंने कहा था कि श्रेयस अय्यर को मैंने पहले कहा था कि हम दोनों ही कैप्टन हैं, हम दोनों कैप्टन हैं, हम दोनों ही फाइनल्स में थे, स्मैट के सईद मुश्ताक अली ट्रॉफी के फाइनल में थे. सब कुछ सेम है, टीम्स अलग अलग हैं, स्टेट्स अलग अलग हैं, जगह अलग अलग हैं, लेकिन फील क्या है सर? क्या सही में सही है, ऊपर नीचे है, क्या है? आईपीएल और स्मैट को मिलाना सही रहेगा या फिर नहीं रहेगा?
आई मीन आमने सामने खड़े हैं तो उस दृष्टिकोण से देखेंगे तो बिल्कुल सही है यार कि अभी कुछ टाइम पहले भी हम आमने सामने थे. पर अगर रजत पाटीदार ने ये बात बोली है तो श्रेयस के कान में ये भी बोली होगी कि आई एम होपिंग फॉर अ डिफरेंट रिजल्ट. क्योंकि हम साथ में तो थे पर इट वाज मुंबई दैट लिफ्टेड द ट्रॉफी. तो उनके दृष्टिकोण से ये बात जरूर होगी कि भैया पहुंचे सही जगह है पर लेट्स हैव अ डिफरेंट आउटकम. पर होता है जहन में सी बड़ा फाइनल. आईपीएल इज डिफरेंट. आई थिंक रजत पाटीदार के लिए और ज्यादा होगी क्योंकि श्रेयस अय्यर ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम हैज लिफ्टेड मैनी ट्रॉफीज भारतीय टीम के साथ, इवन इफ इट्स नॉट एज अ कैप्टन. तो उन पे उतना प्रेशर नहीं होगा. रजत पाटीदार सडनली पहला साल एज अ कैप्टन फ्रॉम फॉर ऑफ अ न्यू फ्रेंचाइज एज बिग एज आरसीबी, तो वो थोड़ा सा ज्यादा महसूस करेंगे कि आंखें बंद करके एक बार अपने को चूटी भी मारेंगे, कहेंगे यार सच है क्या? क्योंकि जिस दिन अनाउंस किया होगा उनको कप्तान, जहन में आया तो होगा कि यार 18 साल से तो नहीं जीते हैं लोग यार ये. इस बार मुझे कप्तान बना दिया है, अब नहीं होगा तो फिर हटा भी देंगे यार, व्हाट डू आई नो. पर और रन नहीं अभी रिसेंटली बन भी रहे थे, तो आई थिंक रजत पाटीदार विल बी फीलिंग अ लिटिल मोर अंडर प्रेशर.
भाई अगर हटाना होगा रजत पाटीदार को इस सीजन के बाद तो नाइंसाफी एक तरफ से तो होगी, क्योंकि क्या सीजन रहा है.
कमाल का सीजन सर. देखा जाए तो सबसे ज्यादा विन परसेंटेज आरसीबी की इसी सीजन में रही है
जी.
इस साल 14 में से 10 मैच जीते हैं, 4 हारे हैं, लेकिन जो विनिंग परसेंटेज है 71.4 की, 71.4%. कमाल, नेक्स्ट लेवल. तो सर क्या लगता है कि सईद मुश्ताक अली ट्रॉफी में जो रजत पाटीदार ने कमाल किया था फाइनल में, मतलब 40 गेंदों में 81 रन की कमाल की पारी खेली थी सर, उसका कहीं ना कहीं उनको रिडेम्पशन लेना है यहाँ पर कि फाइनल में मैं आऊं, मैं भी कुछ करूं, कमाल दिखाऊं और अपनी टीम को इस बार मैं ट्रॉफी लेकर के
ये
जाने मजबूर करूं.
इंटरेस्टिंग है एक्चुअली, क्योंकि उस दिन रन बनाए थे, टीम जीती नहीं थी. पर असी पहली बात तो ये है कि आप जीती हुई टीम का हिस्सा होना चाहते हैं, पर फ्रॉम अ प्लेयर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आप उसमें ना कंट्रीब्यूट भी करना चाहते हैं. क्योंकि अगर कंट्रीब्यूशन ना हो तो आप ट्रॉफी तो उठाते हैं, आप खुश भी बहुत होते हैं, पर डीप डाउन इनसाइड यू कंटिन्यू टू फील यार मैंने नहीं किया यार. मैं कप्तान तो था या मैं प्लेयर तो था, पर मैंने कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं किया ऑन दैट नाइट. सो ज़रूर करना चाहेंगे. और ये बात भी सच है कि अगर कहीं ओपनर्स गिर गए तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी बहुत ज़्यादा आ जाएगी, क्योंकि 3, 4 और 5 पे आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज दिस सिनेरियो विद सीन विद टिम डेविड. अगर वो नहीं है तो मयंक अग्रवाल, रजत पाटीदार एंड लियम लिविंगस्टन, देयर आर ऑब्वियस होल्स देयर. अगर कहीं टॉप ऑर्डर वो ओपनर्स अगर फिसले तो संभालना पड़ेगा रजत पाटीदार को.
आई थिंक नकुल, इफ यूड अलाउ मी, एक सवाल मैं पूछना चाहूंगा आकाश आपसे. रजत पाटीदार की जो कप्तानी रही है, जिस बतौर कप्तान जिस तरह टैक्टिकली नजर आए फील्ड पे, द वे ही इज यूज्ड हिज बॉलर्स, जो एक सिंपल अप्रोच उन्होंने अपनाया है कि 5 बॉलर है मेरे तो ये 5 ही डालेंगे ज्यादा से ज्यादा. अपने पहले सीजन में ही हाउ हैव यू रेटेड हिम एज अ कैप्टन टैक्टिकली, और जो फर्स्ट क्वालिफायर में भी हमने जो देखा, he got into the game so easily कि जर्जर द बैटर was hardly ever needed. Is that in itself a win for RCB कि भाई ये बैटिंग इनकी हाई रिस्क की इतनी ऊपर नीचे जा सकती है, बट व्हाट अ कैप्टन ही है, ये हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म कैप्टन तो है.
कप्तानी अच्छी की है, इसमें डाउट नहीं है. अब कितने एनिमेटेड वो फील्ड पे होते हैं हमें पता नहीं, क्योंकि हम उनको उतना दिखाते नहीं है. तो वो नहीं कह सकता हूँ कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को कंडक्ट करते हैं मैदान पर. आई हैव नॉट हैड द प्रिविलेज ऑफ गोइंग टू द वेन्यू, सो आई डोंट नो एक्चुअली किस तरीके से उन्होंने हैंडल किए रिसोर्सेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ जस्ट दी जेस्चर्स एंड हाउ एनिमेटेड एंड एक्साइटेड ही इज. दूसरे कप्तानों को हम ज्यादा देखते हैं अमूमन. पर 5 गेंदबाजों से काम चलाना इट्स अ टफ वन. उसके साथ 2 ऐसे स्पिनर्स रखना, एक जो डिफेंसिव है और दूसरा जो बहुत ही रूकी है, उसको चलाना. फास्ट बॉलिंग मुझे लगता है फिर भी ठीक ठाक है. इट्स ओके, वो 3 अच्छे बॉलर्स हैं, उनको अलग अलग जगह पे करा के इट्स क्वाइट सेट पीसेस वाला गेम है वो. स्पिन आई थॉट वाज अ वेरिएबल, वो मूविंग पार्ट्स थे उसमें, उनका बहुत अच्छे से इस्तेमाल किया. और कई बार ना इफ यू वांट टू एक्चुअली अंडरस्टैंड एंड सी द डिफरेंस, कोई जब नहीं होता है then you realize कि उसके होने से क्या फर्क था. and that is when Jitesh Sharma was the captain. And suddenly you realized अरे भुवनेश्वर का हाथ में नई बॉल नहीं है, अरे ये वाला ओवर न्यूवन तुषार
अचानक ये वाले फीलिंग्स आ गए
आखिरी ओवर में, अरे किसको करा रहे हैं, तो ओवर ही खत्म हो गए न्यूवन तुषार आगे. Not even once under Rajat Patidar we had this question, did he actually bowl the bowlers correctly at the right time. We never asked this question, and sometimes this is the only thing you have to do where everything looks perfect है, परफेक्ट ही तो चाहिए।
वो वही बात होती है ना, यू डोंट वैल्यू व्हाट यू हैव until it's missing suddenly or lost। तो जब चोपड़ा साहब नहीं रहते हमारे काउच पे और जो एनालिसिस में तब सुनता, तब मुझे आकाश की बड़ी याद आती है।
और सर
दिस इज व्हाट वी आर मिसिंग।
अरे बाप
और कहीं ना कहीं केकेआर भी सर इस सीजन में उस चीज को मिस कर गई है।
क्या बात है।
करें श्रेयस अय्यर की, श्रेयस अय्यर ने सर जिस हिसाब से इस सीजन कमाल दिखाया है, उन्होंने एक बात कही थी, तो वो अभी स्क्रीन पर भी चलेगा। उन्होंने कहा था कि जब आप फील्ड पे होते हैं तो एक राइवलरी की तरह है और आपका सारा का सारा कंफर्ट उस टाइम बाहर हो जाना चाहिए, सब कुछ बाहर हो जाना चाहिए। आप फील्ड पे जा रहे हैं, आप एक युद्ध लड़ने जा रहे हैं, आप लड़ाई लड़ने जा रहे हैं, वो लड़ाई आपको जीतनी है, वो जंग आपको जीतनी है और वो बस देखना चाहते हैं उनकी टीम को फाइनल जीतते हुए और एक बार फिर से दूसरी बार अलग फ्रेंचाइज से ट्रॉफी उठाते हुए
जी।
तो सर आपको क्या लगता है कि श्रेयस अय्यर क्या कर जाएंगे अभी? क्योंकि बड़ा कमाल का अहमदाबाद में इस सीजन में उनका जो भी मतलब पारियां रही हैं बड़ी कमाल की रही, 97 रन भी उन्होंने मारे, मुंबई से भी पिछला मैच जितवाया। तो सर व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
सी श्रेयस अय्यर द बैटर कैन हेल्प श्रेयस अय्यर द कैप्टन। इवेंचुअली मुझे लगता है ये कॉन्टेस्ट जो है, जो डिफाइनिंग बैटल्स होंगी वो होंगी जॉश हेजलवुड के सामने श्रेयस अय्यर, जिनके नंबर्स बहुत अच्छे नहीं हैं, पिछले मैच में भी आउट हुए थे, बेंगलुरु में भी आउट हुए थे। आउट ऑफ द 3 times दैट ही हैज फेस्ड हिम, वो 2 बार आउट हुए हैं जॉश के सामने, 1 बार रोमेरो शेफर्ड के सामने, और जॉश विथ और वर्सेस श्रेयस एंड जॉश वर्सेस जॉश। आई थिंक दिस विल डिसाइड।
आंकड़े आपके सामने चोपड़ा साहब, गॉट हिम आउट 4 times in 6 innings, strike rate is 50। So this is the big matchup। लेकिन अहमदाबाद में उनकी जो आंकड़े बहुत अच्छे, वो चंडीगढ़ में हमने देखा था बहुत ही खराब आंकड़े थे उनके।
करेक्ट।
So I wonder if the conditions help Shreyas playing Josh Hazelwood, क्योंकि ये मैचअप तो आपको देखने को मिलेगा ही।
मैं और आइडियली बताऊं, एक्चुअली इसमें T20 में बहुत रेयर ऐसा होता है कि बॉलर ना विकेट टेकिंग बॉल डालता है और आपका आउट करके चला जाता है। इफ आई एम श्रेयस अय्यर टुडे, तो पहली बात तो जब भी बैटिंग आएगी आपको पता है कि जैसे ही मैं आऊंगा जॉश हेजलवुड सामने होगा। अगर ओपनर्स ने मदद की तो हो सकता है एक ओवर पहले निकल चुका होगा, अगर ओपनर्स या जॉश ने मदद नहीं की तो हो सकता है कि एक भी ओवर नहीं निकला होगा। पर अगर उनको 4 ओवर डालने हैं, 4 में से 1 या 2 तो बाद के लिए भी बचा के रखेंगे, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता नहीं बचा के रखें। तो इट्स ओनली 12 balls, out of which how many am I going to play?
Top 3 are big over here आज के मैच में। बिल्कुल।
12 गेंदे हैं, अगर मैं डिसाइड करता हूँ मुझे ना मारना नहीं है, ऐसे कैसे आउट कर देगा यार? ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि स्लिप लगी हुई है, सीम हो रहा है और इट्स लाइक टेस्ट मैच, आउटसाइड ऑफ की लाइन डाल के वो आउट करने वाला है। क्योंकि जॉश हेजलवुड नाउ ही विल आल्सो बी अंडर प्रेशर कि यार इसको ना एक बाउंसर भी मारता हूँ, इसको एक आगे भी डालता हूँ। द एक्सपेक्टेशन इज आल्सो ऑन हिम। सो मैं तो श्रेयस से ये उम्मीद कर रहा हूँ, भैया टेक इट इजी। 12 से ज्यादा गेंदे आपको जॉश हेजलवुड की खेलनी ही नहीं पड़ेंगी, तो 12 तो आप खेल सकते हो यार।
तो सर 12 गेंदों का प्रेशर 12 गेंदों का ही नहीं, पूरे मैच का ही प्रेशर है। देखा जाए तो श्रेयस अय्यर पर अलग प्रेशर है और हमारे रजत पाटीदार साहब पर अलग प्रेशर है। सर फैंस के बीच में कहीं ना कहीं प्रेशर है। आपको क्या लगता है कौन सी टीम पर ज्यादा प्रेशर है? 18 साल के इंतजार के बाद किसका ये इंतजार टूटेगा? कौन उठाएगा कप को और कौन विजेता बनेगा?
देखिए कौन बनेगा ये तो समय बताएगा, पर प्रेशर आरसीबी के ऊपर है। क्योंकि एक्सपेक्टेशन, भाई वो कहते हैं ना कि जिस पेड़ पे फल लगते हैं उसी पे पत्थर मारते हैं लोग। तो सर आपके फल लगे या नहीं लगे पर लॉयल्टी बहुत है। बहुत बार आप पहुंचे हैं प्लेऑफ्स में, बहुत बार आप ये तीसरा चौथा आपका फाइनल है। यू आर सच अ ह्यूज फ्रेंचाइज और बहुत समय तक आई फेल्ट इट्स लाइक अ वन साइडेड अफेयर, जिसमें बहुत प्यार तो मिल रहा है पर वापस कुछ नहीं मिल रहा। कि आप हर बार सपोर्ट करते हैं, फिर सपोर्ट करते हैं, फिर सपोर्ट करते हैं और फिर हार्ट ब्रेक होता भी एक ही दिल है, कितनी बार तोड़ोगे यार। तो इनका तो बहुत बार टूटा है। तो आज ये उम्मीद पूरी है कि भैया इस बार प्लीज कुछ तो गिव अस समथिंग बैक टू सेलिब्रेट। लड़कियों ने ऑलरेडी कर दिया है, अब लड़कों तुम्हारी भी बारी है।
क्या बात है। अगर फैन बेस की बात करें तो देयर इज नो डाउट दबाव किस पे ज्यादा है। शायद मैंने कहीं पढ़ा था सोशल मीडिया के पे स्टेट हॉलिडे की मांग की गई।
करेक्ट,
नेशनल हॉलिडे की मांग अगर बैंगलोर में या कर्नाटका में अगर आरसीबी जीत गई, वो लेवल पे पंजाब आई थिंक थोड़े से चिल्ड है।
और सर अभी फिलहाल इस लेवल पे थोड़ा सा मैं चिल्ड आउट कम हो रहा हूँ।
आपने तो कमाल का, आपने दबाव में जिस तरह का प्रदर्शन दिखाया, अगर आरसीबी दिखा दे तो जीत जाएंगे आज। वेल डन नक्को,
बहुत धन्यवाद।
आप आ जाओ यहाँ पे,
आप अपने सिंहासन पर आए।
सिंहासन।
और सर पंजाबी आ गए, पंजाबी छा गए हो या फिर इस साल कप नाम दे, आप दोनों को क्या लगता है सर? दोनों की राय
सर। आई ऑनेस्टली आई कांट कॉल दिस गेम। मेरे सिर्फ पंजाब के लिए, मतलब मेरा दिल तो कह रहा है कि पंजाब जीते, बहुत मजा आएगा। पर पंजाब के विपक्ष में सिर्फ एक ही बात है कि 1 तारीख को मैच शुरू हुआ था रात को, 2 तारीख की सुबह मैच खत्म हुआ था, 3 तारीख को फिर फाइनल खेलना है। और एक वेरी हाई इंटेंसिटी गेम वो खेले हैं जिसमें इमोशनली एंड फिजिकली यू आर स्पेंट, यू आर ड्रेन्ड। जो कुछ था आपने झोंक दिया टू विन दैट गेम अगेंस्ट मुंबई। तो क्या वो उस एनर्जी के साथ वापस आ सकते हैं टू एक्चुअली लिफ्ट योरसेल्फ एंड बी लाइक दैट इन लेस देन 24 आवर्स और प्रोबेबली इन फॉर 24 आवर्स? वो एक चैलेंज होगा। आरसीबी ऑन द अदर हैंड बड़े चिल हैं, कह रहे हैं आराम से, कोई टेंशन नहीं है। सो पंजाब विल नीड अ फ्यू मोर थिंग्स टू गो देयर वे। आरसीबी माइट हैव अ स्लाइट एडवांटेज।
आई होप सो कि जो टॉस जीते और जो गेंदबाजी करे उनके लिए काफी एक नर्व सेटलिंग होगा ना, क्योंकि दोनों टीम्स फाइनल में है. दिस इज नॉट लाइक MICS के जो अक्सर वो यूज टू है सिचुएशन के लिए. तो टॉस बहुत ज्यादा मायने रखेगा मेरे हिसाब से. अब मैं सिर्फ सवाल पूछूंगा, मैं जवाब नहीं दूंगा. चोपड़ा साहब, थैंक यू सो
धन्यवाद
मच.
जी. Thank you very
नकुल,
much.
रियली वेल डन. Superb stuff.
Thank you so much, sir.
Well done, man. Very well.
Thank you so much, sir.
You could, Chopra sahab will be in touch with you after this. I'm letting you know. But the build up to this game continues. Team news, toss reaction right from the Narendra Modi Stadium coming up as I welcome back our mad panel on timeout. And they'll tell you why they're called the mad panel. For now, let's see what AB de Villiers has to say to RCB ahead of this final.
I won't say it does, and it's very much deserved. I mean, RCB hasn't won a title where they should have won a few, so it's no one else's fault but the players who were involved. So they have got that burden on them until they win a trophy, which will hopefully happen very soon, and then I'm pretty sure the shackles would have been broken and they will win quite a number of trophies in the future. I'd like to think for the past players who've never won one have played a part in where the team is now today, building a legacy, building a fan base, and that's something some of the past players will hold on to. But it is one of those things, the monkey needs to get off the shoulder and the guys need to win a trophy, and they look more ready than ever. It's definitely different this year, as the makeup of the team is very balanced. I've spoken about this on numerous occasions, how they got it right at the auction, and I feel like it's a squad where everyone has chipped in this season, and that makes me happy. It looks like it's a strong, healthy environment, and they've had 9 different Man of the Match awards going out to the players this year, and I think that must be an RCB record. So the team looks ready. They are in the final, and they know they're going to have to play the small moments well and better than the opposition on the day. But they do look ready for that, and I'm rooting the boys on. No one deserves anything in sport, and that's the brutal truth and honesty from my side. But Virat has worked incredibly hard. He's worked endlessly to be where he is today, and I hope for my friend that he will lift the trophy come 3rd of June.
All right, that was ABD, and now my mad panel is back. MAD, Moody, Aaron, Dustin, all in attendance. Are we ready for the final? How have all of you slept, gentlemen, in the last 24 to 36 hours? Because I was trying to think of how the Punjab boys must have slept, how the RCB boys must have slept with everything that's on the line today. Stakes so high. And I said this to Aakash in that chat we were having. I can't help but almost already feel for the team that's going to have heartbreak at the end of tonight. It's just going to be such a weird moment.
I slept beautifully, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Yeah.
No, and I know what you're saying, because, you know, the night before a final, whether it be an IPL final, World Cup final, whatever it is a difficult time to switch off, because you're constantly playing out the game in your head, whether you're a batter, bowler, coach, whatever you may be, with regards to the makeup of the squad. It's so hard to, you know, just say, look, can't do anything now, just get 8 hours and worry about it tomorrow.
Who do you think would have slept better last night? Which team?
Hard to say, Raunak, because it's one of those finals where both teams have had a history of not winning the final at the IPL. They want to win it very, very badly. RCB especially, because they've got the expectations of a heap more fans than Punjab, I would say, because they've been teasing everybody with coming into the playoffs almost every year in the last 6 years. And finally, they're in the finals. Their fans would want to see them through. But Punjab as well, what a story with their uncapped players. So, I mean, even Stevens, whoever plays better today is going to win.
Dustin, you're my colleague. You're the man who's monitoring what the buzz is ahead of this game. It's unique in terms of IPL finals, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's RCB's first final since 2016. No secret that they're one of the most followed teams. So, of course, our social media numbers are great. So, so we're very happy RCB is in the final. And yeah, I think that the pressure is probably a little bit more on them, just because they've made it here so many times before With Punjab, it's only the third time they've made the playoffs. So for them, it's just, I think, a great opportunity. But I'm sure the players maybe don't feel that way.
Okay, I think there are three players to talk about over here in terms of what this could mean for three big individuals. One superstar, and it's an obvious one. It's Kohli. The missing jewel of his crown is an IPL title after being in the same franchise for 18 years. The other side, there's a new captain this year, Rajat Patidar. What a first season IPL win could do for the next few years for RCB and for Rajat himself. And then there's Shreyas Iyer. Defending captain at least, defending, if not defending champion, and the possibility to win the IPL, become the first man to win the IPL with two different franchises. I want you guys to break down the storyline for each of them. I don't know if we'll have time for everyone to go on everywhere. Varun, why don't you start us off with Kohli? What this would mean.
Like you said, Raunak, the only trophy missing in his cabinet is this IPL trophy. He would want it really badly. I think he and MS, I would say, have been two champions of their franchise. MS obviously won 5 trophies. Kohli's not won yet, which feels like there's something missing there, because with the amount of trophies he's won internationally, the amount of laurels he's got internationally, and in the IPL as well, this could be his, but he's going to have to come out of the blocks firing. We all know his average in finals is about 50. They're going to need that 50 because every time Virat Kohli scored a 50, RCB have won this year.
I weigh in on that. If he feels like, of all the things I have achieved, beyond my contemporaries, MS and Rohit have the titles in the IPL that I don't.
Oh, he'd be very mindful of that, and mainly because he's been in the game for so long. So he's had time to sort of unpack what's happened so far, and there's one thing that hasn't been packed or unpacked yet, and that is to win the trophy for Virat. And you can see his eagerness to want to win it as well, and sometimes that can trip you up, just the desperation to want something too much, and what pressure that puts on yourself, but more importantly, what pressure that puts on everyone else. So, he needs to be mindful of, yes, he's desperate for this, but not to, derail their whole sort of collective push, because that's what this season's been about for RCB, is that collective push. Everyone has towed the line.
You remember that retirement video, that video where he stepped down from captaincy, where he also said, I'll play for RCB till my last day, like till he's an active player, which was in many ways, I was trying to see what the fan pulse was there, that here's a player who's committing to be loyal to you no matter what. We know the whole football mentality. If you're not winning trophies, let's go find a franchise that is. And you almost feel like he deserves to win it, if it's fair to say.
Especially considering again that RCB have made the playoffs 10 times with him there.
Yeah.
So, it's as many as most of the teams that have been very successful, maybe slightly less than CSK. So, there is this feeling that, okay, that's the one thing that is missing. It's one of the conversations when we talk about all-time greatness in any format, one of the things that's sometimes thrown against players is, where are the trophies, right? You hear it sometimes about great South African ODI batters, which I don't think is fair, but sometimes people say, oh, they've never won a World Cup. With Kohli, until last year, he hadn't won a T20 World Cup. So he's ticked that box now. And he's had a great T20 international career. And I think his IPL career has been outstanding with the number of 600, 500 plus seasons he's had. And this will just be the thing that he ticks, and then nobody can sort of say, oh, well, where's the trophy? At least he has one of them.
Shreyas Iyer. In the last 48 hours, if there's one thing, or 36 hours, there's one thing I've noticed is the remarkable surge in affection, admiration for Shreyas Iyer, who is not necessarily one of the big three in terms of Kohli, Dhoni, Rohit, who have big brands and huge following established over many years and many years of international cricket. Here's a guy who's been around different franchises, had a topsy-turvy ride as an international cricketer, and suddenly he seems to be almost like a national hero. I don't know if it's because there's an anti-RCB brigade that must have all jumped into Shreyas' corner, but his story is compelling, isn't it?
I think it's a story of somebody who's walked the talk, because people were very perplexed with the way Shreyas Iyer was going about his whole scene building up into the IPL, saying that I wasn't given enough credit at KKR, even though I won the trophy, and he put himself into the auction. Then he got picked by Kings. He and Ponting forged one of their old partnerships together and have looked very different and have made the and have made the whole Kings setup look very different. And he said that, like simple statements like, we've lost the battle, we haven't won the war yet. I mean, we still have the war to win. So many different things. He keeps throwing in these things, and he comes out and proves himself time and time again. So, I mean, people love somebody who walks the talk, and I think Shreyas Iyer has walked the talk.
Tom?
Yeah, look, there's no question for someone so young, it's incredible to what he's achieved. And I think people, and we are starting to sit back and really unpack exactly what he is doing, which is quite remarkable at his age. Not only as a player, he's continued to grow as a player, because it was only a few years ago he was criticised for being a little bit pedestrian.
Yeah.
As a player in the middle order, he's found 2, 3, 4 more gears with regards to his game in the middle order. He's identified himself as a serious threat against spin, and his captaincy has just grown and grown and grown. And obviously under the guidance of Ricky Ponting this year, that partnership has been formidable, because Ponting is a great leader. He connects well with all age groups, all different experiences within that dressing room, and he's allowed Iyer to be the captain he is and be astute on the field, calm and composed. You know, and he will be celebrated and continue to be celebrated, but it's been difficult for players like him to step away from the shadow of some of the the greats that are just starting to come to the end of their career.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of goodwill towards him, because he's also a player who people feel has not always been given the opportunities that other similarly talented players have, right? He had a very late beginning to his test career when he had a very good first-class career. He hasn't been picked for the World Cups, in India's T20 campaigns. He had to kind of bang the door down before getting into the ODI team. And remember, just at the beginning of last year, he didn't have a central contract. He was one of those players who was told, okay, we don't know about your commitment to Test cricket. And it's an amazing comeback story from there for someone who wasn't even on the India contract list, now being one of the stars of Indian cricket.
Yep, it's brilliant, isn't it? And he's done it with a franchise where, fair to say, they'd almost started to lose hope with Punjab. With RCB, at least there's this huge following. There are no secrets about cricketers writing in their memoirs many years later that we didn't like going to this franchise. For all you know, if they win tonight, how it might change the whole reality or the whole perception of the Punjab franchise in the IPL. We certainly know what's at stake tonight. How big is the toss in determining what's at stake? I know we have to talk about Rajat Patidar. We will, and we'll get that chance because he's going to have to bat first. Rajat Patidar. Shreyas Iyer wins the toss in the final of IPL 2025 at the Narendra Modi Stadium. And like he did in the second qualifier, he has put the opposition in. Punjab Kings will bowl. Let's get a reaction. Let's see whether this is a significant advantage or not in the final. Tom?
Oh, I think it's an advantage because it's something they're familiar with and it's a recent memory of something they've done exceptionally well. So they're not changing anything from the formula that got them to the point that they're out there competing for the cup tonight.
It's a nice reversal of what happened in the first qualifier. RCB, we know, are very much a chasing team. So I wonder if you're an RCB fan right now, one that wanted all sorts of omens and signs going your way, how you'd feel about this toss.
I wouldn't be too happy with this toss as an RCB supporter. First of all, RCB are much more dangerous chasing. We know how Virat Kohli gets zoned in and then marshals everybody around him in a chase. The other thing is, the RCB bowlers of late, especially towards the back end of the IPL, have been very leaky in the death. Hazelwood, after coming back, hasn't bowled in the death because in that qualifier, they had a very short game where he bowled really well up front and got wickets up front. So the game didn't really go into those pressure situations. So yeah, RCB bowling in the death, I mean, every day is a different day. Cricket's a funny game. All that's there. But that's an area of concern.
Yeah, both teams are fielding first, have won 5, lost just 1. So you can see why both teams probably wanted to field first. But to be fair, Ahmedabad has been a batting first ground this season. I don't think that's necessarily because the pitch does anything in the second innings. It just seems like it's quite a fair wicket usually there. Yeah. There isn't much dew, so it's not like there's any real disadvantage for the team that has to bowl second. Yeah. So in that sense, it should be a fairly even game regardless of the toss.
Yeah, Michael Clark said mixture of red and black soil, but looks a belter. And to be fair, MI, we thought got a good score. We were predominantly critical of their tactics and some of the captaincy. Otherwise, you could have made a game out of this. So, no reason for RCB to panic as such, surely?
No, they won't be looking at it that way at all. They'll be trying to draw the positives, out of scoreboard pressure, all those other cliches that come into finals. They know, they've got to be, if the surface is good, they know they need to be north of 200.
Yeah.
But it's making sure you don't look at the peak of what you need. It's what's the process that's required? How are we going to get to that 200 plus total? Well, the principle still stands around the basics through power play to the 10th over.
I want to finish the chat on the three we discussed. So let's talk Rajat Patidar here. It's fair to say this game, it was an out-of-the-box choice. We weren't necessarily expecting for RCB to go in this direction, and they did. Patidar, the batter, things started the IPL better than in recent games or so. What would tonight do for his future, immediate future, if they are to win it?
If they're to win it, it's going to do wonders. Obviously, first of all, he's going to be a very credible captain in the history of the IPL. First time leading a franchise, wins the IPL. That's huge for anybody, especially somebody who's captaining under Kohli. Look, it's very difficult to captain under somebody like MS Dhoni or Virat Kohli because you know that they are the leader. There's a huge leader in the room, and you still have to show that you're the leader. It's a very tricky scenario, and he's managed it really well. I thought Did
you say captain under them or like have them under you?
I mean,
as
it's
captain?
complicated. It's very complicated in a dressing room
So
like that.
you knew what you were saying.
Yeah, I knew what I was saying. It's very complicated in a dressing room like that, and to hold your own, you have to give him credit, because when Jitesh came in, we saw a lot of decisions being made which weren't the best, and the moment Patidar comes in, we see how he marshals his troops a lot better than anybody else in that RCB franchise.
He's a tick no matter what happens tonight, surely.
Absolutely. Such a new challenge for him, a significant step up of responsibility, and certainly from what I've seen, he's done it in a very modest and seamless way, which is the most important thing. Yes, he's got different forces that he's going to have to manage, and he seems to have done that exceptionally well.
And what's really impressive is that he's basically managed an all-new bowling attack. Apart from Yash Dayal, RCB didn't retain any of their bowlers. So it's not like he had an existing relationship with some of the younger bowlers. In fact, there are a lot of senior bowlers there who've come in. Bhuvi, Hazelwood, Krunal is very experienced, captain before. And Patidar is having to manage all these. That helps.
That's helped him. Yeah. That's a really good point, because that's really helped him. One of the hardest challenges for a captain is the management of your bowlers. And if you've got a strong leadership group within your bowling unit, that they really self-manage. It's just a case of getting their input towards how things should work, instead of being directing that talent.
Okay, brilliant. So well done, I guess, to RCB and their administration and their leadership in the direction that they've gone, regardless of what happens tonight. I think Andy Flower and Mo Bobat and the rest of their RCB management went this direction, assembled this squad at the auction, and this is their day. Let's look at their team though. RCB are going to be batting first. No changes from the side that beat Punjab so convincingly. How they would have loved for Tim David to wake up this morning running around in the gym and suddenly have a miracle heal of a hamstring pull. But this is the team they've got to go with. So Liam Livingstone will play against his former franchise, as RCB will now have to bat first. So will Mayank Agarwal, by the way. Suyash Sharma we expect coming off the bench. Punjab also unchanged. Let's just give you confirmation of that. I thought some news that Xavier Bartlett might have been warming up, but it's the exact same team that beat MI in qualifier number 2. Prab will come in off the bench. Any surprises at all? Any bold changes that you would have liked to see in the final?
I think if you're going to make a change, you need to make it the game before. What they're basically saying is that we trusted this group to get us to this point, and we're backing them, given that everyone's pulled up, feeling fit and ready to play. So I think a late change would shock the group, and if anything, unsettle the group before the first ball's bowled.
There would be only two, I think. One was Bartlett and one was Brar. Whether there was a matchup screaming for Harpreet Brar to play this game?
I think that would have been the only thing they considered, Harpreet Brar coming in. But I think today is a day of reckoning for Liam Livingstone, because he's had quite a few quiet IPLs. They've given him a second chance this IPL. Towards the back half in the playoffs. hasn't gotten runs, but if he gets runs today, that could just turn everything around for him.
Yeah, I think Brar was the one name I had circled as a possible inclusion. 5 right-handers in the RCB top order, and he has a good record against RCB.
And Virat Kohli.
Yeah, and the thing is that, but I think Vaishak has kind of earned his place in the side with his last couple of performances, and I don't think that they trust Brar's batting as much as Omar Zai. So I think Omar Zai is probably there more because they trust his batting a bit more than Brar.
If they're going to follow the same plan as they did against MI with a lot of that into the wicket, they certainly would trust that more than spin. So I'm waiting to see if we indeed see Punjab once again come very well prepared, like good boys from the classroom, well prepared for their exam. And their opposition like MI the other day, just last minute flipping through the textbook to see what happens. But today's a day we talk about success, and it's a nice time to talk about it before we have to deal with the highs that one team will experience in 3 hours' time, the absolute heartbreak that they'll have to deal with after coming this close and trying to break an 18-year drought. But maybe success should be measured regardless. Maybe success could be measured in different ways. And Tom is very keen that we have this chat and on timeout about the history of the league, how long they've been there, how often have they made the playoffs, how often do they get to finals, and how many titles. And in some ways, Tom, we tend to be obsessed over the last column, but there is more to just looking at the last column, isn't there?
Well, I think so, and I think what it does, it gives you a chance to test the temperature of the franchise overall, not just in one season. If you've got a franchise that are reaching the playoffs on a regular basis, a high percentage of that, like your Chennai obviously have done that, Mumbai have done that. Yes, they've got the returns because they've been present for a number of occasions with 5 each, titles each. But then you look at one of the teams that's playing tonight in RCB, you know, they've been in playoffs 10 times with no return. So you can see why this surge of passion for them to have the success, because they have knocked down that door or tried to knock down that door so many times. But to me, the most important thing that comes out of this is the consistency of the franchise and how well they're run, to me, equals number of playoffs.
Yeah, you know, we've put this in the chronological order of titles. If you put it in the chronological order of playoffs, you'll have Chennai, Mumbai, RCB. Number 3. Another way of looking at this is, look at KKR and look at RCB. They both have made 4 finals. Now this being their 4th. But KKR have those 3 titles there. RCB have been, so therein lies how we view KKR as one of the successful franchises. Way more successful than RCB. But the same number of final appearances. They have to break that hoodoo at some point though. Otherwise, well, as much as Tom's saying this, the baggage and all the history, it will continue to hold on and affect players, I'm sure, in the future.
I think it could be this RCB team, not just because I'm saying, because I want to say it or because I've played for RCB and all of those things, but this RCB team has really stepped up. The team has stepped up, not just Virat or not just ABD or not just Chris Gale. The whole team has stepped up. 9 different player of the matches. That's a huge testament to how the whole team has come together and have won them games this year. So if it has to be a team who's going, an RCB team who's going to lift the trophy, has to be this one. If you talk about KKR, again, KKR, if you see throughout those IPLs, it was a team effort. A lot of new players stood up. Robin Uthappa had the orange cap once.
Manish Pandey was superb in a final.
Then I mean, Piyush Chawla. So many different stories, you know. It's not just 1 or 2 people. Narayan and Russell were always in a conversation with KKR in those years. But this RCB team looks a bit different from the RCB teams of the past.
But yeah, this is why the fans are obviously desperate to get that one win, because sometimes, you know, this kind of this long-standing good performance does pay off eventually. Remember CSK, they obviously have the best numbers in terms of reaching the playoffs, but between 2012 and 2018, they didn't have a title. They had 1-2 before that. But then they but they were always in the playoffs, and then eventually they got 3 within a few years. So that's what RCB fans will be hoping for.
In 2012 and 2015, you mean?
With?
For CSK between 12 and 15, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were missing in 16, 17, Dustin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a second. Anyway, that's not for me or for anyone else to remind you of. But yeah, I think it's a very, very big day for RCB. It's a big day for Punjab, but you feel like Punjab, if they keep this combination going, this squad has so many players have 5 years ahead of them, 7, 8 years, the uncapped players and whatnot. They'll win a title sooner than later. But if Punjab beat RCB tonight after making their 2nd final, and RCB's hoodoo continues, not to mention this whole rivalry that's going, which to a degree can even get toxic. I'm sure it at some point just goes into the dressing room. From what you've heard of people at RCB and players at RCB, do they also feel like how RCB fans feel?
No, I don't think so.
Not at all?
Not at all. They're very isolated from all the noise. I think even in international cricket, players just zone in and try to control the controllables. And the only thing RCB can control today is putting their best foot forward and just playing the ball in front of them.
Do you believe that after a point, this becomes baggage, like it did for, say, South Africa at the international level? But RCB's history of having failed at finals before, they don't have too many players part of it, but there is a Virat Kohli there. They know the history of their franchise. At what point do you sense that these things start becoming mental barriers in a final?
Pressure. Simple as that. As soon as you have those pressure moments, and you can guarantee there'll be a number of them, what it does, it just peels off the scab, if I could put it that way, to expose you to, you know, what the previous generation has had to endure, whether it be players, staff or fans. So I think it's being composed when those pressure moments happen in the final to be able to reset and you know, don't look behind, look straight ahead at your target.
Nothing like someone who's won it to be there when those pressure moments arrive. We speak of Shreyas Iyer, we can speak of Phil Salt, the two champions of KKR's title-winning side last season, and with RCB batting first, they also have Phil Salt returning now. Congratulations to Phil and the family, the birth of his child, and he has to make a quick up and down. He was back in Ahmedabad early this morning, and RCB fans were genuinely nervous between morning and afternoon until I think ESPN Cricket finally confirmed the news that he's back and he's available. And there's a reason why they were nervous, because he's had such a big impact this season, Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, he's been massive. I mean, his strike rate in the power play has been one of the best in the league. It's well over 170. And among everybody who's got more than 400 runs, he's third after the Sunrisers openers. And this is from the beginning of 2024. So he's been one of the outstanding openers in the IPL now for 2 seasons. And the other big thing about Salt is he's actually one of those rare openers who even after the power play does not dip at all in terms of his strike rate. So that's something that you'll find common even in openers who strike really quickly through the power play. They'll sometimes slow down after, but he's striking almost 180 even after the power play. And again, he's third on the list among everybody since last season who scored more than 200 among openers after the power play. And the difference for RCB in that phase just after the power play is quite stark when Salt kind of plays in that phase and when he gets out in the power play. So that's usually a phase where RCB just slow down a bit. They're 7.5 when Salt is already out. Yeah. And then when Salt is batting in that phase, they actually can go at 9.5 and over, between overs 7 and 10. And he's a crucial foil to Kohli, because Kohli is one of the openers who just has that little dip in strike rate after the power play. But if Salt is there with him, then RCB don't have a problem in terms of slowing down.
They come well prepared and well planned, Punjab. What should be their plan for Phil Salt early?
I think Arshdeep is key. Arshdeep is key in this game. He's had 4 quiet outings out of 5 games where he's not picked up a wicket in the power play. He's going to have to pick up some wickets in the power play this time.
How would you set him up?
Salt is one of those players who does not like bowlers who bring it back into him. He loves a bit of room to play his cut shots, to actually pick you up over and go onto the onside. Arshdeep is perfectly suited to just nip it back from that off and middle. So I think Arshdeep versus Salt is going to be key. I hope Arshdeep doesn't go against the grain and try to bowl those away swingers and just focuses on his nice hooping in swingers.
I like that. Since we've touched upon it and it's such a big part of the game, let's have that discussion more in detail as part of our next Up Presents Power Play Conversations. One last time that we talk about next Up Presents Power Play Conversations. In the final, Varun has set it up nicely, and you also dug up Arshdeep Singh's IPL, where I'm trying to think over here. Has he had a damn good season? Good season? Is his season just tapering off a little bit?
Yeah, so I think as Varun mentioned, after the restart, Arshdeep's numbers have, taken quite a bit of a dip as compared to before. He was going at just 8 and over before the break, but then after the break, that economy rate has climbed up. Just 2 wickets for him totally after the break, which is why the average is so high. And the big difference actually has been in the power play. Through the middle overs and death, he's been more or less steady, similar to before. But in the power play after the break, he hasn't got a wicket. He's gone for 10.9. I was looking at some of the length stats. He just seems like he's a bit shorter for some reason after the break. He was pitching it up more, but it seems like he's gone more to defensive lines. Or do you think it's his rhythm, or is it just bowling plans have changed for him?
See, if you look at Arshdeep, when he bowls his away swinger, it's always a bit shorter and it's a bit slower. It's not his effort ball. So even last game he went away, and then he bowled, and all those balls were about 128, 129. His in swinger was 135. So that's his effort ball. That's what he should be focusing on. At the moment, I think he's trying to be too cute by setting up the batsman and doing things like that. The Arshdeep Singh of the old would just bring a lot of balls back in and bowl the one ball which goes out. So if Arshdeep Singh actually focuses on what he's really good at, I think we would see him get a wicket today.
I was very surprised that he was even trying to bowl that so much in the last game.
Well, any left arm pace bowler with a new ball that can swing the ball in and they don't use that as their stock delivery, to me, I'd love to know what the reasoning is behind it, because you see Trent Bolt, for instance, do it time and time again, hit people in the pads early on, because there's only a very small window where you can get the ball to curl back like that, and it's normally 1 or 2 overs that you can get as a bowler. So why wouldn't you take that window? Because you've got the rest of the day to push the ball across the right-hander. So I certainly hope, but particularly to Salt, that he tries to find his front pad.
Let's talk about the opposition here in Kohli in particular. Record in the playoffs, something that we brought up for a Rohit Sharma, which wasn't great, which didn't improve in the second qualifier. But as far as Virat Kohli goes, when stakes are nice and high, what have we got today? So, in league playoffs and knockouts, average of 25, strike rate 121 or so. Now, this is a different Kohli. Those 16 innings have come over a long period of time. I was reading somewhere that there seems to be this great admiration of his, almost this is the peak of his T20 game. Wonder if we all agree with that, of the way he's gone about it this season.
I think his peak was in 2016. I wouldn't say that's a peak or anything, but
I think it's more about
was the most special
the
season.
kind of impact he's having from ball 1 to 10, 20, rather than the accumulation phase.
Yeah, I think his template's more flexible now. I think he's got a broader game. There's never been a question of volume of runs for Virat Kohli. He's always got runs. You know, he is a run machine. But I think his template has evolved as the game has evolved, and you've got to give him credit for that. So I agree, 16 he was just in beast mode. It was incredible. Both him and Warner that year were both phenomenal. But I think now you've got a more complete player that can work through different phases better. He can work through different bowlers differently with still keeping that intent and that intensity of his innings moving forward.
Yeah, I think he's just evolved also as the game's evolved, right? I mean, in 2016, average scores were not what they were today. You know, there was more of a role for an anchor in that phase. But then in the last couple of years, scoring rates have gone up. And in the last couple of years, Kohli's kind of kept up with that and realized that, okay, I have to go a little bit harder in the power play. Strike at nearly 160, I think he is in the power play this season, or higher than that. So, yeah, he's just kind of kept up with how the game's moving, I think.
Anything to add for Virat today? How do you see him playing?
I see him playing like he's played this whole IPL. Be very attacking, especially in the matchups which don't favour him. Try to actually attack his way out of it, which he's done really well throughout his whole career.
Does he have an obvious matchup that doesn't favour him today?
Yuzi Chahal. I think Yuzi Chahal is going to be key in the middle, especially against Virat Kohli. His numbers against leg spin are slightly lower than, I mean, Dustin can give us the exact numbers, but against leg spin, Virat Kohli does strike a lot lesser than any other type of bowling.
We actually didn't mention Chahal as much the other day, and he quietly had an impact on the game. He got Surya just before his spell closed out, and I believe it wasn't even a Chahal bowling at 100%. Do you see him having a key role to play today, or even a quietly key role to play?
Yeah, look, absolutely I do, because you've got a wealth of experience there. Let's hope he is 100% fit, but, I think I agree. I think that matchup's going to be really important. Chahal there against Kohli, but to me, having that spin option, and what I like about him is his wicket-taking ability. He's always had the ability to take wickets, and to stay in a contest, you've got to continue to take wickets. So he gives them that option in the middle phase.
Also with Chahal, just knowing him personally, he was not very happy after not being retained by RCB back in the day.
Yes.
Because he had done a lot of work for RCB, especially performing year in, year out at the Chinnaswamy has never been easy. He was one bowler which made that look really easy. This could be one of those games where he's really fired up, and a fired up Chahal is always a better bowler.
I think they went till a certain amount at the auction for him.
Yeah.
And they pulled out then when it went up to as high as 18, which is what I think Punjab got him for. Can't remember how long RCB
I think it was
went for
about
him.
14 points.
Yeah, but a decent amount.
Yeah, but you're referring to before he went to Rajasthan.
Correct, correct. For that I
Yeah, but
can...
Kohli against leg spin is about 135 strike rate. Again, I think it's similar against Chahal. Only been out once to Chahal, I think, but he does tend to curtail the runs a bit.
You know what was interesting in the last game was that there was such a great chase from Shreyas, and we spoke of MI's errors. Perhaps because of the result, we did bring it up like briefly in the mid-inning show. Shreyas got a couple of things that he would perhaps want to revisit. The choice of not bowling out Vaishak, some of the fields that were set to Arshdeep Singh, which we brought up as well. It's not like there was a 10 out of 10 tactical performance from him. What would he have learned from that day, and what mistakes from qualifier 2 would you not like seeing repeated today?
To be honest with you, I think they're mistakes more from a bowling perspective than a captaincy perspective. You know, using that Arshdeep, for example, you know, I always believe from a coaching perspective, you give the ownership to the bowler, you do all your homework, you do your research on all the angles, the right field sets, but to me, it's the bowler that takes accountability for that. So if you're at the top of your mark and you're not happy with your field, that's a pretty unpleasant situation to be in. So I always feel that the bowler nearly needs to captain himself. So the captain needs to know what the bowler wants, and the bowler then bowls to what field he's got. So that was the puzzling thing about what happened the other day, is that Arshdeep, as an international experienced bowler, seemed to be sort of not complimenting the field that was set, and it should be his field.
Yeah.
That was the odd thing, didn't you find that?
Yeah, 100%. He was trying to double bluff the batsman. I think he tried to triple bluff the batsman.
He was bluffing himself.
and he ended up bluffing himself because he didn't have a fine leg. He didn't have a fine leg back. He bowled 2 bounces, 2 fours, especially to somebody like Namandhir, who's a very good puller. Then he goes wide Yorker, then doesn't execute it, and his mid-off was up. So those few runs could have really cost him.
Just on that, the thing is, if you don't have the bowler understanding and having his own field and understanding why he's got that field, there's no accountability on the bowler. So that's the key thing, is making sure that they have the shared vision of what it should be, how the fields are, the right personnel in the field. There's no point barking at a fielder at deep mid-wicket if he's your worst catcher in the side, but he's in a hot spot. Well, whose fault's that? It's not the fielder's fault. It's the bowler's fault. You say to the captain, hey, I want Varun out there. He's got the best throwing arm, and he's got leg speed, and he's got great hands. I don't need... Sorry, Dustin. I don't need Dustin there. Can you put Dustin at short, fine leg? You know what I mean? So to me, that's the captain's responsibility. But to me, it's the first responsibility is the bowler. At the top of your mark. If you're not happy, get it right.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll field it, mate. We'll field it.
I just need a couple of seconds to imagine the ring, the inner ring with Dustin.
Very good catcher at short, fine leg, Dustin.
I think he'd take a blinder. All right. Since we're talking about Shreyas Iyer, we're talking about his captaincy. Now his batting will be seen in the second innings. We tend to have so much to talk about in the first innings that we miss out looking ahead. But I'm sure there has been some chat about the manner of his dismissal against RCB in the first qualifier. Tom, you remember the phrase you used was a good one. You've got to be able to be smart, put your ego in your pocket. It's a funny one. He's played an 87, a blinder after that. But how do you address this conversation if you were his coach, knowing the matchup that RCB will throw at him today?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be the highlight of the conversation, but it'd be a conversation where you're talking through, his options against their bowling attack. And if Hazlewood comes up into conversation, you would hope that, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't, sort of articulate a better way to manage Hazlewood. And whether that's strike rotation, whether that's batting out of his crease, whatever it is, he needs to be very clear what his plan is. And if he doesn't bring it up, you mention, what about strike rotation against Hazlewood?
You take such a diplomatic approach. Rather than, what we would say, hey Shreyas, why are you stepping down and trying to swing him, slog him, get a single?
You want to hold on to... You want to hold on to that form and that confidence as much as possible. If anything, you want to, increase it, make him feel that he's feeling $1 million going into the final.
I would actually go to both the openers and tell them that, guys, we need to play this template And if the openers actually bat out the power play, or if the top three bat out the power play, then we're not even talking about Shreyas and Hazelwood, because Hazelwood gets a lot less potent against Shreyas once the ball is slightly older. And I think Shreyas can manage a Hazelwood post the power play.
I mean, they'll have the advantage of knowing what the target is. So
Which is a big advantage.
They can plan how they need to go about things.
Of course.
Shreyas in the last game actually played really sensibly for the first 11 or 12 balls.
Yep.
I think the first boundary, he just kind of got one from Hardik that was short, outside off, and then he just kind of at the last minute realized, oh, I can just ramp this for 4, and that's how he got away. So maybe he can do something similar.
Maybe given Josh Inglis has become this specialist hunter who takes down, the hardest, the most toughest beast of the opposition. You could just tell Inglis to nick another 20 of Hazelwood's first over, and then that'll get them going and on their way.
Yeah, or just pretend he's Bumrah and play the same.
He tried. Hazelwood was too good for him in Mullapur. For the last time this tournament, Tom, Varun and Dustin, I will ask for a first innings prediction. As RCB walk out, remember Kyle Jamieson gave his own mini tribute to Virat Kohli on his test retirement in that last qualifier. But just nagging it outside off and eventually getting him to nick off. So he's going to partner Arshdeep. You'd think two teams in red are in action. We have just witnessed the first ball of the final. It may not be the first legal ball. So let's get predictions. Tom.
I'm saying 197.
Varun.
210.
Oof. Dustin.
I'll say 192.
Oof.
Oh, why did you puff at mine then? You're only 5 off it. Waiting for you to go 160.
And Raunak, come on.
I'm not getting. Forecaster is loaded. Forecaster is saying 216. You know what? I think they're going to do I think they're going to follow a very similar pattern to the MI game. So I'm going to go 204. Isn't that what MI got?
Yeah, I think that's 203 or 204.
Oh, you know what? I'll just lowball. Forget it. 160. Because I realized that's not getting
160?
a reaction. Yeah,
Locked?
160.
It's your last chance.
160. Between 160 and 204. Okay. I actually think no, I don't know. Who cares? Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Varun. Thank you, Tom. Genuinely, I have no idea. 200. 185. We'll see you at the end of this innings. That's that kind of day. I have no idea. But I hope it's a close game. We'll find out where RCB stand, where the RCB fans stand at halftime. Join us then for Nexa presents ESPN Riggin for Timeout.
Ready for it.
Thrill for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.